Hello, and welcome to, I think, part 4 of this expose about the Newberg Equity in Education Mafia operating in the city of Newberg, Oregon. Now we're finally getting to the RICO stuff where it really weights in. Like we've already talked about RICO, the Racketeering Act, criminal conspiracy under Oregon law already. I know it's taken a lot to show, but now we're getting to specifically where they are violating federal laws to intimidate elected school board members to change their votes or to resign, and how this is really what cements them as a RICO. Before I get into that, I just had a parent here in town provide me some information. I had previously mentioned that they have a health class curriculum that's been taught and has been advocated for by the Oregon Board of Education. A book. This is one of the books that was on the list of recommended reading from this health class material, and I've been told is also one of the books which is available in the elementary school libraries. It's called It's Perfectly Normal, Changing Bodies, Growing Up, Sex, or Sexual Health by Robbie H. Harris and Michael Emberl, I think. Okay, and then where's some of the content that's in this here? Okay, we got nude kids here. It's talking about puberty here with naked photos of boys and girls in the book in the elementary school. And then, of course, we've got something else, something lovely in the next part of it. Okay, let me see if I can get it. Next part, there it is, right there. Perfectly normal masturbation. Here's a photo of a young girl who's diddling herself. Okay, and then here's a boy who's jerking it on his bed. Lovely. This is what we need to have in the elementary class. Of course, we've got our little cartoon friends here. Cartoon friends saying, masturbating. I've heard about that. Just another big word, that's all it is. With our little cartoon friends here to help motivate us to diddle ourselves and play with ourselves in elementary school. Lovely. Absolutely fantastic. Isn't that precious? Isn't that just what you want and expect to be taught in your schools by the teachers? Let's continue on. Evidence of coordinated efforts by the Mafia to intimidate school board members to change their votes or resign. The Newberg Equity in Education. That is a mouthful of a name. Newberg Equity in Education Mafia. By extension, all other parties involved are violating several aspects of federal and state laws by coordinated efforts to use intimidation on school board members to change their votes or to resign from the school board. This is by either damaging their finances, interference in commerce, directly through getting them fired by their employers or having business ties ended, as well as other harassment such as actual real doxing, such as sharing personal addresses, home addresses and things, which I do not do, as it serves no useful purpose in publishing such personal information as home addresses. You won't find me publishing any personal information. Everything I have has been taken from a public source, such as Facebook, or the school directory, or news articles, or LinkedIn pages, other social media, things that are available to the public. I haven't published anybody's home addresses. In fact, I've edited them out, even when I found those sources in public directories, such as Kristen Stoller's business address, which was part of the public information in the Newberg School District's database for vendors. I still censored that out. I'm not doxing anybody here. I am publishing information of interest to the public about crimes that I believe are happening. Okay, let's go. Here's an example of how the group got Brian Shannon fired from his job. Brian Shannon being one of the school board members that they currently are trying to recall because he voted to ban Black Lives Matter flags from school campus. First, let's look at some public-facing comments. This is a screenshot from Kristen Stoller's personal Facebook profile, public, available to anybody to read. And here's Tim Cornell mentioning on one of her posts, word on the street is that Brian Shannon was also fired this week from his job at Selectron Technologies in Portland, and then claims maybe the Confederate flag on his wall, as the reason, which I think is a misdirect, and you'll see why it's a misdirect. But first, let's talk about how this action of trying to get a public official fired is breaking multiple laws. Okay, well, first of all, while there is no law that says a company can't decide to distance themselves from an individual who they believe are violating some company policy, some company rule, I must ask Selectron Technologies if what choice led to his termination. Okay, if his termination was due to his political opinions, well, that can potentially be illegal. It says a company can. Sorry, I gotta fix that typo here. Let's just continue on. If his termination was due to his political opinions and actions as a public figure that are entirely legal, then his company has violated Oregon law. Using undue influence, including job loss threats with the intent to influence individuals' voting, political activities, and contributions is unlawful in the state of Oregon per Oregon Statute 260.665, undue influence to affect registration, voting, candidacy, and signing petitions. And here's the law right here, okay? Absolutely illegal. Furthermore, Newberg's own municipal code, its own city laws, also has rules prohibiting this kind of thing. And that rule is 9.15.020, obstructing governmental administration. No person shall intentionally obstruct, impair, or hinder the administration of law or other governmental function by means of intimidation, force, or physical interference or obstacle. They are undeniably seeking to force publicly elected individuals conducting administration of a municipal corporation, which is what a school district is, a municipal corporation, municipal meaning city, okay? And they're using intimidation to do so. It's a violation of the local municipal code. State law, Oregon Statute 162.235, similar provision. Person commits the crime of obstructing governmental or judicial administration if the person intentionally obstructs, impairs, or hinders administration of law or other governmental or judicial function by means of intimidation. I think they're also engaging in a collective coercion effort against the school board members and those affiliated with them, which falls under Oregon Statute 163.275, coercion. Okay? As I mentioned in a previous video, person commits the crime of coercion when the person compels or induces another person to engage in conduct which the other person has a legal right to abstain from engaging in conduct which the other person has a legal right to engage by means of instilling the other person a fear that the other person refrains from the conduct compelled or induced or engages in conduct contrary to the compulsion or inducement. Another will go down here to F, cause or continue a strike, boycott, or other collective action injurious to some person's business. Okay? Additionally, testify falsely or provide false information or withhold testimony or information with respect to another's legal claim or defense. Coercion is a Class C felony. Furthermore, I believe violations of federal law have also been committed, such as Title 52 voting in elections, intimidation, threats, or coercion. No person, whether acting under color of law or otherwise, shall intimidate, threaten, or coerce, or attempt to intimidate, threaten, or coerce any person for voting or attempting to vote. Intimidate, threaten, coerce, intimidate, threaten, or coerce any person for urging or aiding any person to vote or attempt to vote. Intimidate, threaten, coercion any person for exercising any powers or duties under section, etc., etc., etc. Okay, this all applies to elected officials, okay? Just because you're voting on behalf of other people as an elected official doesn't change that you are voting. There's nothing in the law that gives some special exception where you can intimidate, threaten, or coerce elected officials. You can't. It's illegal. Highly illegal behavior. I also believe provisions of Chapter 29 of Title 18 United States Code related to elections and political activities has been violated, which is intimidation of voters. I think I previously said that before. As for Oregon state law, Oregon Statute 260.575, use of threats and intimidation for purpose of extorting money. This is very important because if you read the law here, no person shall offer, propose, threaten, or attempt to sell, hinder, or delay any part of initiative, referendum, or recall petition, offer, propose, or threaten to desist from beginning, promoting, circulating, or soliciting signatures to any initiative, referendum, or recall petition. Offer, propose, attempt, or threaten any manner to use an initiative, referendum, or recall petition, or any power of promotion or opposition concerning such petition for extortion, blackmail, or private intimidation of any person. This law is titled about being extortion. It actually prohibits several kinds of actions. This is the importance of actually reading the entire sections of the laws instead of just skimming their titles and assuming, because legalese, the way the law is written, words often have special definitions under the law, okay? And it's meant to that way so that laws are all encompassing. There's many different ways you can coerce somebody, which the dictionary is not going to tell you, because coercion in this context is a legal definition. It is not what you're going to find in the dictionary. For full context of the need activities about intimidation of elected school board officials, here's the entire post that was publicly shown on Kristen Solar's Facebook wall that shows everybody who was publicly cheering for Brian Shannon's firing. And you'll have to read the original article here to see all these people, because I'm not going to write off all their names, okay? Pretty much all of them are members of NEED. They're in my spreadsheet, which you can download from the article, okay? This, of course, was only said publicly by the members, okay? Here's private communications. Kristen Solar's not enough to condemn them, so let's look at the private stuff from within their Mafia group, the NEED group, okay? Here's Owen Lowe, August 17th. I have hesitated to ask this, but have thought long on it. I'd like to know where the 4 board members and their spouses work so that I can avoid giving them my business, letting their employer know why. These people have negatively impacted my job and hurt my family. I think it's only fair to respond in this type of way. And of course, you have got more people here. Have you seen the post below about equity for Newberg? Might help answer the question. I know Trevor's wife's Marissa says Shelley Hendrick Thomas. Trevor's wife works as a farmer's insurance agent in the area. Oh, and McVinville is where she says, corrects her by Tanya K. Brammer, who further says Renee Powell is on payroll for her husband's company, Powell Built Homes / Powell Built Designs and Constructions. Debbie Toft, who is apparently a drama teacher at the school district. She puts out some more information about Trevor DeHart. Key tenets for Lamb Research, the employer of Trevor DeHart. This is their dedication to education. Read the last section, quality of life, and you'll see that tidbit, how DeHart's values conflict with his employers. Oh yes, we're going to use cancel culture tactics against an elected official. Surely this will work out so well, guys, even though it's a federal and a state crime, and even a municipal crime to be doing this stuff. This is going to work out super fucking well for us, I'm sure. Let's continue here. Angie Spratcher, who's another one of these people in the school, Lamb Bratcher's like 3 blocks away from my house. I think they may need to hear from a local community member. Sarah Luna, I remember someone saying Dave is coaching in Canby, and Sarah, Moore comes in and says, yeah, like he's teaching in Canby. And then here is the only person who really dissents. And we'll see how long this lasts. But one person, I will at least point out, one person dissented. Okay? Garrett Lukens. Are we trying to get people fired from their jobs due to political engagement at this time? He says, one thing to protest their political actions and values is another to go after their jobs. And so he basically says, like, we probably shouldn't do this. In fairness to Garrett Lukens, he initially said 7 weeks ago, we probably shouldn't do this. However, Owen Lowe says, I do not want them fired for their opinions and beliefs, just I want to be fired for mine. I'm merely seeking to not assist in financially supporting them. That's what he claims, okay? But that's not what's actually occurring. Unfortunately, it appears they work at places where my boycott wouldn't be effective. Like, how else would it be effective, right? You're trying to change their votes. There's no other purpose to tell their employers except to apply pressure upon them to change their votes or to resign. So to try to claim that I don't want to get them fired, that is an outright lie. Like, again, always look at what their actions do. Look at the consequences of the behavior. Don't pay attention to what they say. Pay attention to what they do. That's what they're doing. What they're doing is trying to intimidate elected officials via their employer by doing cancel culture, boycott nonsense on their employer. That's what they're trying to do. Debbie Toft says to Garrett Lukens for disagreeing, I think what people are seeing is their political values are impacting every single employee in the Newberg School District. only because you're part of a mob, but let's continue. I don't want anyone to get fired, but I would like to see them held accountable for their actions. How are they going to be held accountable? Obviously getting their employers to punish them for their votes, which is illegal. Okay, continuing on. I want to see them held accountable for their actions, which are politically fueled in a role that should be one of objectivity. I think many of Newberg staff feel they're creating a hostile work environment. Garrett Lucan says that sounds like a justification and defense of going after someone's job. You know, he points out, like, correctly, like, held accountable because you perceive them as throwing the first punch. And he says, go back to my first phrase. They go low, we go high is known and holds weight. And I think the Trump era has eroded things so far that even-handedness doesn't exist anymore. And it's true, like the outrage of the mob against Trump, outrageous. I'm a Democrat, and even I acknowledge, like, the way that people became so cult-like and zealotous in the approach to Trump, it has caused the frames of reference for moral, good, virtuous behavior to just go completely out the window. And now they've just become a bunch of fucking criminals. Here comes, let me show you where, because he does protest, but Owen Lowe, he says, I'm going to do it anyway, basically is what he says, okay? When people seek and hold public office, their words hold most sway, and the consequences, like, he's saying specifically because they're elected officials that justifies us doing it, which is actually illegal. This is the one person in America you can't do this to. This is the one group of people in America that you literally cannot do cancel culture shit to, which is elected officials. But he seems to think, because they're elected officials, it justifies his illegal behavior. Here comes in Sarah Hadley Wrights. And Wrights is not her last name, I don't think. I think it's actually just Sarah Hadley. She's a big blogger within their group. She says, I'm all for going after their jobs and their customers because of their actions. I'm done protecting white fragility from the consequences of their actions. That's right, it's racial-based harassment, too. They've had no problem making sure BIPOC folks and LGBT crowd have a hard time landing and advancing in jobs. What does that have to do with the school board? It has nothing to do with these members on the school board. But that's what she says. And see how quickly Garrett Lukens folds. He says, going after jobs, customers, family, and friends are already on the docket, I suppose. Tit for tat doesn't seem like a good policy, but let's see where it goes. Anything can be justified in the name of justice and peace. Again, like, very quickly within this thread, the other cult members convince the one person who dissents to conform to the mob mentality, to conform to the cult, to engage in illegal nonsense. Sarah says, we each will have our own way we are comfortable with. No, you because of the organized nature of this. And I'll make this claim at the end of the article. This is RICO. This is a violation of the Racketeering Act designed to penalize the mob. Every member of the mob is responsible for all the same crimes everybody else as the mob commits because they're an organized criminal conspiracy. You're all fucking guilty. Every fucking one of you, I'm sorry I'm cursing about that. Every fucking one of you is guilty. And I swear I hope so much the FBI arrests every single one of you and puts you in jail. They should. They absolutely should. And I will be there in the courtroom to report on it. Let's continue. Emily Grace says, this isn't about people's political beliefs. Human rights aren't political. Don't you love to hear that? Human rights aren't political, guys. Literally, human rights is a political concept. But hey, let's continue on. Sarah Elizabeth literally says, I absolutely want racists to lose their jobs. So you can see here, this is within the NEED group. Okay, this is a small number of members, but this is how it began. This is just how it began. Okay, let's continue on. Initial resistance, the idea of using intimidation and harassment, quickly disappears when more prominent members of the Mafia suggest it is virtuous to engage in illegal activity. By the way, from this group of people who liked this post, looking for information so they can harass the employers of the school board members who made a vote they don't like, okay? These are all the people that liked it. And who do we see within this list? Oh yeah, we've got Lupita here. If you remember, Lupita, she is one of the vice chairs of Oregon Department of Education, Guadalupe Martinez Zapata. Yes, yes. Here's another thread from within the NEED group talking about getting Brian Shannon fired. Okay, it's by August 17th. Mary Kunkel Has anyone followed up with the person who said Brian Shannon hangs a Confederate flag at work? I don't think that's true, but let's see where this goes, right? I'm curious if there's evidence of this, and they all want to get into it. Tahart Moore is part of it, so she's fully aware of all this that's going on. Okay, she's participating in the thread, all right? And here's Caitlin Shockley, who puts out the name of the company he works for, and according to Vote Brian Shannon, that's where he works. And here's Tamara Brookfield puts the phone number. Please call them and express your concerns about this demonstrated behavior. Demonstrated behavior being him voting on the school board for the thing that people voted him to vote for. If you had any doubts, these people harassed and intimidated an elected official's employer because they want that official to change his vote or resign. There you go. They did it to the Newberg school board member, Brian Shannon. Wonder how they feel about a racist, homophobic, and transphobic employee out there making waves in the worst ways, says Caitlin Shockley. AJ Swans, who's an admin of the group, says, not sure. Here's the locations of some of their customers. Let's harass the customers as well of the employer of Brian Shannon, elected official. As mentioned before, this is all crime. This is multiple crimes that are listed at the start of this, okay? Here's Mary Kunkel. I feel like if he hangs a Confederate flag, see that they're making bullshit up. They're making shit up, okay? Here, I agree except that public outcry about public statements may be weighted differently than his more private cubicle-style racism. These people just, like, create their own special, like, hamster wheel, basically, they can run on to justify everything that they do. Here is, let's see. Wondering if anyone has connected with the person who posted it there. So they're talking more. Here's Autumn Foster. Curious if any of his neighbors across the street are in this group. Some signs in the yard might be amazing. Hate has no place in Newberg. We love our students of color. Proud Newberg public school supporter. That's what NPS means. Supporter. And they tag a bunch of people who live in the area. Who, you know, all our members. Joshua Reed, Kara Copeland, Lydia Cooler. We could put up signs or distribute them to neighbors along Emma Lane. Yes, so let's harass their neighbors. Wonderful idea, guys. Totally legal, right? No, it's actually illegal. And of course, Garrett Lukens is now actively participating. He was dissenting before, but here he is. Would love to get some proof of a Confederate flag. Picture would be pretty damning. Yeah. So they don't have any proof that this is a real thing. Somebody just said some bullshit inside the group, and they're using it as an excuse to try to harass his employer. Not because of the flag. They're doing it because of what he voted for, because of what he wants to do on the school board. That's what it is. Here's Cheris Brock, who is currently a professor, George Fox University, as mentioned previously in this article, in the previous videos I've narrated here. He's very active in the group. I saw someone post about this on another community group, but now I have no idea where this was. I can try to look for it at some point to find out who it was who said this. So they have no idea. But you know what? They're contacting the employer anyway, because this isn't about what's true. This is about what they feel to be true. Okay? It's about what is not. Sorry, I'm getting so emotional here. They are so focused on what they want. They don't care about what actually is. They don't care about reality. They don't care about facts. They only care about what they want to do as a fucking mafia cult. That's all they care about. Next. Here's a post where they plotted to harass school board chair Dave Brown and even try to get his students to share some kind of dirt the group could use to intimidate him with. AJ Swans, August 15th. Chair Brown is currently employed by the Canby School District as the girls' tennis coach. If you know of students who have been coached by him, please encourage them to share their stories or concerns with Canby Athletic Director, so they can, and here's the contact information for them, so that they can try to fire him for it, okay? Great idea, says Jerry Witherspoon, and all these other people. Here's Jeff McNoe, the counselor at the school. I have a friend connected to this athletic program. We're having this conversation. Yes, trying to use his social network to get them fired. Dave quit coaching tennis, someone said around there. And he said, yes, he was elected May 2019. So just trying to find something, to get them on. I think I saw that Grace was in touch with some stories from students. Let's see. Maybe he should try to destroy another district and leave ours alone. Sorry, not sorry. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Hazel Grace says, I reached out to a friend in Canby, let him know who is and what he stands for. Let him know who he is. Who he is, being Dave Brown, and what he stands for. See? And so they're just trying to do whatever they can. Let's see. I wrote to the Canby, I think, administrator on Sunday. Got a pretty quick reply from him that they are looking into statements posted about Dave Brown on Twitter as well as school board stuff. See, they're just making shit up. Just making shit up, trying to get them punished for their votes, which is illegal. And it's doing it as part of an organized group, criminal conspiracy. Okay? The group has many different ideas how to intimidate school board members through the collection of personal information, such as this oddball one involving tracking down what churches they go to, which obviously serves no legitimate purpose other than to harass them and try to isolate them from the community as a form of intimidation. Kristen Stoller, September 22nd, questions. Did Zach Lydia ever go to school in Newberg Public Schools? Did Lydia's, who homeschooled all their kids, and the Multians got to speak, did they go to church together with Dave Brown? And of course, here they are talking about this, okay? Providing information about the kids and what schools and the churches that they go to. I'm not going to recite that. Here's another one, okay? This one's from Kim Warrington McDone, who is married to the counselor there. And does anyone know what churches Dave Brown, Renee Powell, Brian Shannon, and Trevor DeHart attend? And then, of course, they start saying what churches. I'm not going to repeat it, but it's here in my article, okay? They start talking about that. And there's only one reason to do that, which is to harass them. Here's a follow-up post where Need members claim to know for sure Brian Shannon was fired for his board vote as a result of the Need members' harassment of his employer, which I previously explained is illegal. Here's Debbie Toft, September 15th. Dave Brown went on and on about the Austin Foundation donations, trying to mitigate the multi-year loss. The important part is this part here where Heidi Snyder-Pender says, Brian did lose his job because of his actions on the board. See, specifically, he lost his job because of the votes. Has nothing to do with some supposed Confederate flag, okay? It's specifically about they don't like the way that he voted. This is illegal. I doubt, this is another important part, because I want to show this here, okay? She says, there are some good reasons why members of this group who are close to that situation want to protect his family, quote, not, he's in parentheses, not him, from any kind of community retribution. It's a very sensitive situation that deserves care, which is why it hasn't been widely shared in a public way in this group. So there's more going on behind the scenes, even within this, this group here that's going on. And they say that they're trying to protect his family. But that's not what they mean, okay? They're the ones that organized the intimidation, led to his firing, now suddenly trying to claim they want to protect his family. This is why these type of psychos are called virtue signalers. They only care about appearing virtuous. They don't believe in being virtuous. You can't do these things to people in America just because you don't like their vote. This is unmistakably voter intimidation of an elected official who represents other voters. It is illegal. Here's another thread where the Need group members salivate at the mouth upon hearing rumors that their coordinated harassment and intimidation against Brian Shannon might have caused problems in his marriage and are looking to exploit it for their political gain. Go down here. Okay. They're talking about how word on the street is that Brian's wife kicked him out. I wonder, where does Brian still live now? Ava Martin says, oh my God, I hope this is true. She hopes it's true. Brian very clearly doesn't like women. Oh, he doesn't, does he? And she says, and his hostility to women on the board with opinions has made me wonder what kind of husband he actually is. I worry about her. I don't even know who she is. Luann says, he must be a resident of the district to keep his seat. If he's not, he must resign. I know he doesn't like rules, but that's the rule to keep his seat. He has to move to an address outside the district. If he's had to move to an address outside the district, then Tay Harden Moore says he has to reside in his zone, because this is what they're trying to do. See, they're trying to find ways to get them off by intimidation, harassment. They're salivating at the mouth of this prospect that he's not living in his house anymore because of the fallout of their harassment, their illegal harassment of him, causing problems in his marriage, and they're going to try to exploit this for their benefits. Continue down, because there's even more here, okay? There's even more here. I think it's right down here. Here we are. Rachel Kubrick, if anyone is interested in ways to positively support Samantha, which is his wife, and the children, please message me. And here's Beth Hampton Gonzalez saying, we have ideas in the works already, so if anyone's interested in finding out how to help, like this comment and I'll message you. You can message me. We're thinking it would be best to keep it slightly less public considering what she is going through, so I'm sorry that I'm not being more specific here. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? Okay? They're overjoyed. They're so overjoyed, these psychopaths, at the idea they might be able to exploit a problem in Brian Shannon's marriage resulting from the fallout of their coordinated harassment of anyone associated with him. They also strategize how to take advantage of the situation to isolate Brian Shannon from his wife and children under the false guise of support and comfort to them. Just take that in. That's how fucking evil these people are. I believe at this point in the article it's beyond contestation that the Newberg Equity in Education group is breaking laws. For furthering my argument, recently, the Department of Justice put out the following statement about intimidation and harassment of elected school board officials. The statement is related to the rise of cancel culture harassment against elected officials. Justice Department here says, citing increase in harassment intimidation against school board members. Threats against public servants are not only illegal, they run counter to our nation's core values, and they have told the FBI to get upon this stuff. And here's where I tell you, I've already reported them to the FBI, okay? By the time you've gotten to this part of the video, they've been reported for about probably 2 weeks now. I don't know if you need more evidence of how evil these people are. But let's keep going, since there's so much more of it, okay? The Mafia intimidation tactics, violation of voter intimidation laws. I believe the need Mafia's political activism is violating the law in other ways as well, in regards to laws against voter intimidation. I see nothing in these laws that says they cannot apply to elected representatives when they vote on behalf of others in their district. Example, recall Brian Shannon page has said they are helping businesses that are endorsed the recall to gain new customers, which is a financial incentive for them to endorse their political campaigning and vote a particular way. This is also a violation of Oregon statute for undue influence to affect registration, voting candidacy, signing petitions, and it's a form of conspiracy under Oregon statute 161.450 criminal conspiracy. Here's the recall Brian Shannon page saying, somebody asked here, Jody Blue here, what businesses do you represent? I'd like to know where to support. And the recall page says, stay tuned as we will publish our endorsement shortly. I'd love to see which businesses are on this list. It's likely in the email newsletters they're getting sending to the supporters. And I imagine it mentions matches the same businesses, which will be mentioned in the need group later here in this article. At this time, I asked the residents of Newberg, elsewhere in Oregon, please submit to me via my contact form any evidence you possess of any individual who has been terminated from their job or even pressured by any of the mentioned ways as a consequence of their lawful political support for an issue, such as that related to the school board. Such conduct by a private employer is completely and unquestionably illegal in Oregon. Per 260.665, undue influence to affect registration, voting candidacy, signing petitions. I intend to report every instance of this occurring in the state of Oregon. Illegal financial benefit favors provided to businesses and individuals who assist with intimidation of elected officials. The need group engages in illegal activity that is prohibited by both state and federal laws to reward businesses for publicly pressuring elected officials to vote or resign. Examples of this from within the group, Mafia group, is right here, okay? Aaron Smith, it's not enough to invite boycotts from outside the community, but also promote them within. Save our schools, rebranded, destroy our town. Socrates Davis, we want to point out that Pollinate enjoyed record business through their vocal support of the resistance to Shannon's bigotry. And Smith thinks that's awesome. It's awesome that Pollinate's Flowers is getting a bunch of business because they're helping to recall somebody. Here's more evidence for the need mob providing financial rewards to businesses that help them harass school board members such as Renee Powell. Here's Catherine Villalobos Barnett, August 18th. Update: Renee Powell used to have her art displayed at Potter's Vineyard. Thank you for being allies, Bill and Sandy. They say, this is so awesome. Oh-ho, woohoo, says Angie Spratcher. Abby Budd, oh my gosh, Kathy, tell us more. They're so excited, okay? Shelley Hendricks says, guess we may have to go wine tasting there and show our appreciation. That's right. Let's spend some money at this business who has ended a business relationship with an elected official because of the vote that they made and the intimidation we as a mob are doing to that business. Sally Moon says, time to find their Facebook page and give them a like for starters. And of course, Sally Moore also shares a link to how to make reservations at Potter's Vineyard to reward them for the coercion. And this is coercion, okay? And of course, they've got an email here where it's confirmed to the mob that the relationship has been ended. And Debbie Toft says, yay. This conversation is evidence that Need Group has engaged in extortion through fear. We'll talk more about this when I discuss the RICO charges, which is coming up here. I promise it's finally coming up here, because once we get through this, you'll be able to understand how RICO fits into all this. As I previously mentioned, the business owner of Potter's Vineyard told Renee Powell in an email she was ending the business relationship with Powell due to fear of the Need mob. The mob then gained financial benefit, purchasing products to Potter's Vineyard for ending the business relationship. What the mob has done is therefore a crime, as previously mentioned. I'll talk more specifically about the full gravity of the situation in the RICO section of this article. The Need mob also rewards members of the press, who give them positive coverage and do not report the full facts of the stories, only their biased perspectives. Here's Need members suggesting others in the Mafia group should subscribe to the Newberg graphic because they love Ryan Clark's extremely biased reporting that benefits the group's conspiracy. Socrates Davis posting, as you can see, into the Newberg Equity and Education group. If you haven't subscribed yet, I highly suggest you all subscribe to the Newberg graphic. They've been on top of this issue, not because they're a liberal rag, rather they understand the gravity of the potential cost, the children of the district, and the feasibility of our finances. Oh yes, so lovely. So lovely. Now I may have a bias, but I am providing the full facts and evidence for what is happening in Newberg. I am showing what Ryan Clark and other journalists are not. All members of the Mafia who observed the criminal acts and did not report them are complicit in the crimes per federal law. I believe everyone who is a member of the Need group has committed this crime. 18 U.S. Code, Statute 4, misprision of felony. Whoever having knowledge of the actual commission of a felony cognizable by a court of the United States conceals, does not as soon as possible make known the same to some judge or other person in civil or military authority under the United States shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years or both. The evidence for this claim is the fact that they had access to the same information I have had, and yet they never reported it to the FBI. How the intimidation and recall effort is part of a larger conspiracy involving county officials. The Need group members are aware of the process for what happens if an elected board member resigns, such as what they are trying to force members to do as part of their intimidation. Okay, here's a thread right here where they talk about what happens. Okay, and they're asking, can someone explain the actual process for having a school board member recalled, or point me to a policy that explains it? Now we go down here, and it says, from what I've heard from AJ Swans, if a seat is vacated, the board has to come to a 4-person vote. They can table the vote for as long as they want, but no new member can be appointed without 4 votes. So the only reason an appointment would be sent to the county commissioners is if there weren't enough members on the board to arrive at 4 votes. Okay? Also participating in this thread, because this is important to mention before we continue, is Bryce Cofield here. Is right here. What happens if they don't come to a consensus? I heard it goes to the county commissioner. Is that true? That's what she was answering. He, of course, is a member of Newberg City Council for District 4, and he's part of the Need group, part of the Mafia group. He's a participant in this discussion. Another relevant discussion here, Lydia M. Schramm, October 2nd. Okay, And she's asking, Chair Brown, support what they're doing best to suppress the majority opinion and get creativity in combating that behavior, yada, yada, yada. The important part is here. You need to resign now because this is what's in the public comment, okay? Public comments that they're trying to get them to do. This is the action they want them to take, to resign. Okay, this is how it all fits together. And this is how Casey Kula comes into it as well, who is a Yamhill County Commissioner. There's only 3 members of the school board who opposed the vote to ban politically divisive symbols from the school board. These 3 members are Brandy Penner, Aini Penna, and Rebecca Pyros. AJ Swans herself has been on board committees, I believe. She's one of the public-facing leaders of NEED. The other 4, to establish the quorum, basically. The 4 school board members they're trying to harass and get them to resign. If they were successful in getting them to resign, that means there will only be those 3 members of the board, Brandy Penner, Aini Penna, and Rebecca Pyros, who remain on the board. That doesn't establish a quorum, which means to get more people on the board, they have to go to the county commissioners for appointments. Okay? That's how this fits in. So based on this and other communications within the NEED group, it appears to me the intended plan was for NEED to use coercion and intimidation to force the conservative majority board members they are harassing to resign so that county commissioners can appoint new members to the board. County commissioners such as Casey Kula, who is a member of NEED. Right there. See that? He's part of the group. The same Casey Kula who put out this public statement on his official Facebook page asking for those people to be recalled and leave office. The way the evidence seems to imply to me that NEED is a criminal conspiracy engaging in public corruption with involvement from other elected officials. In fact, I've seen so much of this, there's really no question in my mind. This is what it is. So just let that sink in here. We've got a group of people engaging in a criminal conspiracy to intimidate, harass elected officials to resign from their positions. And if they're successful in this endeavor, one of their other members, Casey Kula, gets to be one of the people to help appoint people to replace the others that they illegally intimidated and harassed. This is public corruption. This is what tyranny, this is what invisible government looks like, people. This is not the history books. This is happening right now in Newberg, Oregon. This is happening right now. This is not happening to somebody else. This is happening to us. Let's continue, because there's so much more left. NEED encouraging members to get the ACLU to sue the school. The NEED school board members have, during public meetings, claimed the school may be threatened with lawsuits by the teachers union and ACLU. By NEED school board members, I mean Penna, Pyros, and Pender. They have said that this potential lawsuit is proof that the conservative school majority is harming the school district with their votes to ban Black Lives Matter and other political flags from the campuses. In reality, NEED, Newberg Equity in Education, which has those school board members as leaders within its cult, is orchestrating the lawsuits against the school district. Here is Remy Drabkin, who is currently on the city council for McVinville, the next city over, sharing non-union staff and students. The ACLU needs to hear from you. This request inside the Newberg Equity and Education group. Okay, we got lots more conversations about this and law firms and so forth to sue the school board members. They're the ones doing it. This is yet more proof they only care about their ideological crusade, and the teacher union has turned against the school district for the current school board majority, refusing to be a platform for their cult recruitment efforts. Here's NEED discussing inviting the Church of Satan to visit Newberg schools. Yes, amazing, but here we go. This keeps going down the rabbit hole to Wonderland, doesn't it? As a special treat, I figure that some of the church leaders in Newberg would like to see this thread in the NEED group. Angie Sprotcher saying, Dave Brown said in a previous meeting while referring to unvaccinated staff, the district and board need to do everything possible to accommodate and keep them. And someone here says, can we get a religious exemption to this rule? And Heather Ann says, we could reach out to the Church of Satan or the Satanic Temple. Politically, they have helped strike things like this down as a form of religious harassment. That's right, everyone. Let's invite the Satanic Temple to Newberg to visit the school children during class time. Somehow, that's going to help the students of Newberg. Oh, wait, it doesn't. It only helps the agenda of the need cult somehow. Although I don't really see how. Like many of their decisions, it's not a very well thought out one. You can guess who liked the suggestion, though, that the need group should invite the Church of Satan into the Newberg schools. Okay? Who liked this? Who loved this fucking suggestion? Lupita. And who's Lupita? Oh, yeah. Guadalupe Martinez Zapata, Vice Chair of the Oregon Department of Education, thinks, great idea. Let's bring the Church of Satan into the Newberg school system. Wonderful fucking idea. She loves it. Rest of the comments from that thread you can read through. Tamara Brandt. I wonder what would happen if a bunch of employees submitted religious exemptions along the lines of, my religion requires me to care for the vulnerable or to show love to all people. Certainly easier to believe religious exemption from vaccination. Tamara Brown says, I'm totally down for this. Oh, wonderful, guys. Great idea, super geniuses. Let's file claims under false pretense and admit to doing so on our super secret Facebook group we use to coordinate our Mafia business. I'm sure there will be no negative consequences of this at all. Here's Socrates Davis. $4 million lawsuit waiting for the board when they fire the first teacher for this. Oh, great. You know, wonderful. Whoever Socrates is, I think it's a fake account for someone's dog. Thank you for in your eagerness to virtue signal to your fellow cult members, telling the entire world that part of your conspiracy is to intentionally get teachers terminated so you can file a lawsuit and collect money. Per well-established case law, an employee that intentionally tries to get fired is actually legally considered to have quit their job. Normally, it's difficult to prove, but you've made it incredibly easy by announcing needs plans to the world. And because you are a criminal conspiracy, every member of your conspiracy, this now applies to every member of your conspiracy. Thank you so much, whoever the genius is who has been posting into the group using her dog. Okay, continuing on. Evidence of Need Mafia coordinating press coverage with journalists to manipulate the narratives. You're going to really love this one. Publicly using their positions and influence. Need members have tried to distort the narrative to make it seem like there are huge negative backlashes as a result of the school board ban. Here's an example from Brandy Penner, who, as I previously explained, is a Need member. Okay? Brandy Penner says publicly, this is a reshare into the Need group by AJ Swans on September 1st of August 31st post Brandy Penner made on her Facebook page. She is complaining about how the Ford board members, they've intentionally harmed the school board economically. We've cost us $100,000. People are boycotting our city and wineries, she says. I will not stand by while laws are broken, she claims. Okay? And they, of course, applaud her powerful words and nonsense. In reality, the Need group is the one coordinating with the press and feeding them stories from within the school. They are the ones creating and encouraging the negative press about the town. Sarah Luna, August 24th. Rumor has it Newberg, BLM and Pride Flag ban reactions will be on NPR in about 15 minutes. Wow, I wonder how you could find out that it was about to be there in 15 minutes unless you're in contact with somebody at NPR. National coverage yet, Suzanne says. Of course, blah, blah, blah. There's lots of little conversations here about all this stuff. Let's see. Joshua Reed was in here. Oh, yes, here it is. I don't know. I turned OPB on just as I was typing that comment. Already had missed the beginning. Similar. Oh, no, he said here. New version of the piece is coming out in 5 minutes. This is the part I should have highlighted. Joshua Reed said, new version of the piece coming out in 5 minutes. I just heard from the journalist who did the piece and was frustrated with some tape being cut out of the first version. That's right. Joshua Reed, Newberg school counselor, admitting that Need is coordinating with journalists to control the direction of the media narrative. See, he's in the group right there. And journalists are also members of NEED, by the way. As an example, here's Andrew Selsky, who lists his occupation as a correspondent for the Associated Press. This is him right here. See that? Correspondent of the Associated Press. Right there. Yep. Correspondent, Associated Press. Hey, he wrote this news article, which, due to his role at AP, was widely repurposed across multiple media outlets, probably, I think, as part of a news package. Oregon School Board ban on anti-racism LGBT sign draws ire. See, written by him on Associated Press. He quotes Ty Hardin Moore, who is also another member of the Newberg Equity in Education group, that he also mentions in his article, which he's a member of. Seems a major conflict of interest and violation of journalistic ethical codes to be affiliated with the group you are reporting on without disclosing that information, doesn't it? Because it is. The NEED group has an actual thread in it where they are sharing news stories and coverage with comments about the stories that are revealing. Sample of the thread here. Okay, all kinds of stuff. And here's proof that Brandy Kaufman-Penner actually likes the negative news coverage of our town, contrary to what she says. Because you see, she's right there in there. She's in the likes for who loves this thread with all the negative press coverage, okay? Everybody calling us racist and everything else. Here's more communications you could read through at your own leisure about all the plotting that they've been fucking doing with the journalists, okay? Here is Elaine Koskela saying, Newberg making the news everywhere. Glad for the folks they are highlighting. That's right. It's our platform now, guys. Trash in the town is making us all famous for 15 minutes. See how well that fucking fame lasts after my article comes out? Ha ha ha! All right, continue on. Emily Garrick Steenson says, I just created a new thread for comments posts of people saying to boycott Newberg. Let's screen grab and save those for future strategy needs. That's right. Create an organized system for storing and sharing files. That's right. We're organized. Ooh, so organized. Tell everybody on Facebook about our secret mafia. Ooh, wonderful idea, guys. You're so smart. So brilliant. So powerful and strong. Let's continue. AJ Swan says, Brandy Penner also highlighted the slave trade Snapchat group. This will become very relevant here quickly. Make no mistake, though, the NEED group is the one who is creating the bad press about Newberg. They are the ones cooperating with journalists to mischaracterize what is happening. The bad press is a direct consequence of their cult's activities, their corruption, and their efforts to indoctrinate children into critical race theory. They are using the media to obscure the actual facts, and these media outlets never once tried to investigate the people involved to see if they are being truthful about events in our town. I honestly doubt they even care. Every news article that has a quote from a NEED member should have a retraction issued for it, telling the public the journalists failed to do their job, allowed a criminal conspiracy to use them to manipulate public opinion for the political benefit of the NEED Mafia cult. NEED manipulating the Newberg businesses are being boycotted narrative is a way to intimidate and deceive. By now, having seen the evidence I have provided, it should be clear to you that NEED is the group of people who are boycotting local businesses for supporting the conservative majority on the school board. Yet, the NEED leaders, such as Brandy Penner, who is on the school board, misrepresent this to the public and try to use it as a tool to pressure town residents to support their cause. Here's a post from Brandy Penner Facebook page, which was reshared by AJ Swans inside the NEED group as an example of this deception. Okay, as a school board member, I've been receiving emails from people who are specifically boycotting the area business. Okay, you can read the rest of it if you want. She's off this statement of love and support, and please don't boycott us, what she says publicly, but behind the scenes, it's all part of the conspiracy. NEED members are the ones writing the letters to the press about how racist and awful Newberg is. NEED members are the ones meeting with the press to talk about how racist and awful Newberg is. They're the ones orchestrating the harassment and boycotting of local businesses who have any association to the conservative school board members. They are the ones sharing details about people's family lives and what churches they go to, so they can pressure those church groups to isolate the conservative majority school board members from their communities. And they are the ones who are doxing local residents and harassing their employers for disagreeing with the NEED cult. The Need cult Mafia members and leaders, such as Brandy Penner, are the ones responsible for the boycotts. They say one thing publicly and do another thing in the shadows, all with the goal of tricking the residents of Newberg into giving them more political power in town so they can force their cult beliefs onto everyone else. This is what corruption and tyranny looks like. This is how a democracy falls. It doesn't happen all at once when barbarians invade the empire. It happens in your own backyard when your neighbors conspire against you and corrupt the halls of government with your assistance because you gave them support. The reality is that the business boycotts are not the result of the conservative majority of the school board voting to ban BLM flags from school campus. The truth is that the boycotts are the result of the Need group having controlled the school board last year, used its power and influence to teach children critical race theory as per their anti-racism resolution from April 2020. Need uses the school district as a recruitment ground for their cult. The new ban on BLM, Antifa, and other political symbols this Need cult uses to indoctrinate the children into their cult ideology with is a necessary step to stop what they are doing. The Need cult Mafia has organized the boycotts in retaliation. This is the truth about the issue. Here's the truth about the slave trade Snapchat group incident involving a student and how it was intentionally misreported by Need. Tahart and Moore and Need have used the incident over last summer involving a student who participated in an unsavory Snapchat group for their political advantage. The incident was mischaracterized by Ryan Clark in his reporting on the situation. I believe he thought nobody else was going to find the screenshots he gained access to, so he could manipulate the story to serve Need's agenda. However, I gained access to the screenshots too, since they were available inside the Need group, which I'm pretty sure violates FERPA. Both Ryan Clark and Tahart and Moore, and numerous other people in Newberg, including members of the faculty who know the truth, have claimed the Snapchat slave trade incident is proof of widespread racism in Newberg, Oregon. Furthermore, the incident doesn't even meet Tahart and Moore's own special definition for racism, because the student was not, per the definitions of CRT, white. The student is actually one of the BIPOC people, using her terms here. Okay? Here, of course, is her saying what's racism. It's marginalization and oppression of people of color based on socially constructed racial hierarchy that privileges white people. The student wasn't white under her terminology. So it's not racism under her own definitions. But that's what they called it. I possess all the evidence for this. I know the truth of the situation and what it actually was about. I possess copies of the actual Snapchats of the student, as well as other communications by students who reported the student, which was leaked by school employees to Need. The leak was not directly to me, but from my understanding, to others within their inner circle, and I gained the documents that were not distributed in the Facebook group from one of these individuals. In any case, one of the reasons I'm coming forward with this information is to refute the false characterization of the event in the press as an incident of racism and white supremacy in Newberg, and the use of this wayward student who, from my understanding, was venting about being bullied in a way that just wasn't healthy, as a scapegoat for the entire town to be labeled as racist. I believe the mischaracterization of the situation is a violation of several laws, which I will share later in the section. Because the individual in the Snapchat incident is a minor, I am not going to publish the evidence I have that verifies the claim I have made. The evidence is instead something I prepared for the FBI as part of my complaint of the criminal activities of the Need Mafia group, who I believe have broken several laws by mischaracterizing the incident for financial and political gain. This is what I will say. The student was reported by peers. No evidence exists that I can find that other students in Newberg participated in it. Let me explain the ethical problems at heart in this particular incident so others can understand why I'm not publishing the evidence publicly, but I'm still reporting on it. The first issue here is the individual as a student. So the school has violated privacy rights, which are defined by FERPA, by even informing the public at all about this matter. When pressed if it was proof of racism by concerned parents and the media, school officials should have refused to comment at all, per FERPA guidelines, instead of throwing the student under the bus to serve their political agenda. Instead, school chose to, as reported by KTO News article, condemn the actions of the students participating in this slave trade chat online. Here's a copy of the letter, of course, by Principal Tammy Aaron. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Doesn't matter. Doesn't change anything. Because simply talking about the damn matter was a violation of FERPA, in my opinion. This is why. The incident is not about a private student disciplinary matter. The student did not break any laws. The matter was therefore not of public interest until the school made it one with this press release. Whether the school had any right to even discuss the incident with the public is questionable, given the incident occurred off campus. Court rulings have been that schools do not have the right to police student activities outside of the campus. I also believe the distribution of the Snapchats that had students' photos on them has subjected those students to further ridicule and embarrassment than was necessary, and as such, the school violated their privacy rights too. Nevertheless, the leaking of this incident to the press has allowed individuals, such as Tyhart and Moore, to claim to the press the incident was proof of a widespread problem of racism in Newberg, when it was in fact not. Because Tyhart and Moore knew that no one inside the school would refute her claims, she probably believed she would get away with this, since she controls the Newberg School District faculty via the NEED group. You doubt this? Well, let me pose this question to you. If I could very easily obtain the Snapchats of the students, do you seriously think someone as influential as Tyhart and Moore, who has almost the entire teacher union in her NEED group, hasn't done so? Of course she has. And she claims that she did from within the NEED group. Okay? Commenting on the very post here, Tyhart and Moore, yes, it's legit. I spoke to the parent. Followed up with Newberg High School and Dr. Joe Morlock. I've been told an investigation is ongoing, a statement forthcoming. As you can see, Tyhart and Moore admits she knew details about the incident. I believe she intentionally mischaracterized the situation because the press coverage and conversation benefited her group in its political activities. Later, this is how the incident was discussed within the NEED group to the members outside of Tay's inner circle when the Newberg School District published a statement. This was on September 14th, posted by A.J. Swans, basically the regurgitation of the press release. Tyhart and Moore says, statement is lacking. Watching, so are others. The horrible incident is an opportunity for our district to show we take racism seriously. Of course, the student was BIPOC, so it's not racism per her definitions, but let's continue going, okay? She says, from reading this statement, I don't think that's going to happen. Excuses will be made. This will be pushed under the rug unless we stand up and demand the proper action and discipline. There's a lot more conversation. You can read about it all. Then, at the very bottom here, they share an Instagram page where some of the Snapchats can be found, which I've censored out of here, okay? The Instagram account I censored belongs to a minor, and it shows some of the posts and the student who did the posts. Everyone who is part of this NEED group had access to the direct link to the accuser on Instagram. This is from within their group, guys. They know the kid who made the Snapchat group is a BIPOC kid, okay? And the incident thus doesn't meet their own standard of what racism is. The student in question is not white supremacist and is ineligible to ever join a white supremacist group because the student who made the post is not white. Was the incident racist using the common definition of the word? That's debatable, given the nature of the messages. I interpret them as being very inappropriate dark humor. It wasn't a crime, but it was inappropriate and alarming. I do think so. There was no violence, though, nor was this done as a way to organize a harassment campaign against anyone. This kind of thing was childish and stupid, but it hardly warrants the kind of attention it has received. People say stupid, mean things on the internet all the time. It normally doesn't get national attention. And if it were not for people like NEED seeking witches to hunt, it wouldn't have gained any. I do acknowledge there is nothing about racism that means a person cannot be racist against their own ethnicity groups or other minorities, but that's not how the NEED group has characterized the incident, okay? They have implied that the student who uploaded photos of their students was white. The student is, per their definition, not white. This incident has been used as a fuel to claim Newberg has white supremacy and hang this fucking sign every Friday by the flagpole. In actuality, the incident has nothing to do with white supremacy. So what the NEED group has done is use this case out of context to push an agenda while deceiving the general public about the actual details. Another person who knew the poster of the Snapchats is a BIPOC kid, is Ryan Clark of the Newberg Graphic from his Twitter page. See, he's got copies of the messages. He posts it, he censors it out, but he's got copies of it. He clearly has access to the same material I do. He knows the poster of the content is, just as I do. Here's the article he wrote about the article and quoted Ty Hardin-Moore in. Okay, his Newberg Graphic article on September 15th. Here's Ty Hardin-Moore here, who he says as a black woman and former candidate Newberg School Board. She's also a consultant for the city as well as a diversity consultant. And of course, one of the leaders of the NEED group, which she doesn't mention. She says, this is an illustration of the racism and discrimination that plagues this community. I shudder when I think how our black and brown students feel showing up this week. The comments that Ryan Clark quoted in this article, if you read the entire thing, feel free to. I simply want to point out, the comments Ryan Clark quoted in the article were not said by the Newberg school student. It was said by people who don't even live in the city that were also in the Snapchat group. The group was not created by Newberg students. It had one student who participated in it. Second of all, Ryan Clark knows this because he read the same messages I did. Therefore, I think it's manipulation of the facts, what Ryan Clark has done. And to top it off, he helps turn the situation into a platform for Ty Hardin-Moore to use to push her agenda, which benefits her group. I mean, it certainly benefits Ty Hardin herself, since she provides consulting on diversity and gains more prominence from this elevation of her message in the press. Remember now, this NEED Mafia group involves multiple principals, assistant principals, school counselors at every school in Newberg, including the high school. Many of the key group members are aware this was not a situation of white supremacy because the student in question isn't even white by critical race theory standards. The evidence I have shared shows Ty Hardin-Moore knew before she made her statements to the press the student was BIPOC and not white. Therefore, I believe Ty Hardin-Moore is a liar, and so is Ryan Clark. Ty Hardin-Moore knows the incident does not prove Newberg has widespread racism problem because the incident involved one BIPOC kid engaging in dark humor that backfired hard. It has no reflection on the rest of the town. Ty Hardin-Moore has used this incident to recruit more allies for her political campaigning and gain more personal benefit, and the only reason I cannot provide more supporting evidence here, such as the identity of the student who posted the Snapchats, is because of the privacy matter at the heart of this case. I seem to be the only person reporting on the situation that cares about presenting the truth while also trying to protect the students' rights that were already deeply violated by the Newberg School Administration. What I'm trying to do here is clean up the mess they made. That is the only reason I can't prove to you in a public forum Ty Hardin-Moore knows the Snapchat incident was not about white supremacy in Newberg is because I can't release the Snapchat messages. It would violate student privacy laws such as FERPA. Now, I'm not bound by FERPA, but I am respecting it anyway as much as I can. I do, in fact, have the evidence to support the claims I've made. What I can and have shown is that her NEED group includes all the most influential members of Newberg School District faculty and the Teachers Union, as well as 3 members of the Newberg School District Board, Brandy Penner, Rebecca Pyros, and Inez Pena Anaya, and other journalists. They all had access to the original accusation, and Ty Hardin-Moore has admitted to speaking with the parents and superintendent about the case. The screenshots I have are ones which have been floating around in the teacher community, including among her inner circle of NEED Mafia members. Thus, I have reason to believe the Mafia members who knew and have exploited the situation for their benefit are therefore guilty of several violations of law, given their exploitation of the situation for their agenda, as this incident has been used to help justify the recall of Brian Shannon. One of these laws, 260.532, false publication related to candidate or measure. No person shall cause to be written or other publication with knowledge or with reckless disregard that the publication contains a false statement of material fact related to any political committee or measure. Ty Hardin-Moore and others in NEED have repeatedly claimed the Snapchat incident is proof of white supremacy and widespread racism in Newberg, and they have organized a recall of board member Brian Shannon under the claim that the board vote is leading to incidents such as the Snapchat group incident. Yet, Ty Hardin-Moore knew the incident had nothing to do with the board vote to ban BLM flags or Brian Shannon himself. Likewise, I believe the Need group has also broken the law 260.555, prohibitions related to circulating, filing, or certification of initiative, referendum, or recall petition. No person attempting to obtain signatures on or causing to be circulated initiative, referendum, or recall petition shall knowingly make any false statement regarding the meaning or effect of the petition to any person who signs it. I believe that telling people to sign a recall petition while lying about telling people to sign a recall petition while lying about the Snapchat incident and using that incident as proof that Brian Shannon should be recalled is a breach of this law. Additionally, the Need Mafia and its members who knew the truth have used this truth to alarm the public, creating a hysterical witch hunt in town in search of racists. We now even have Proud Boy and Antifa showing up from Portland, fighting in our streets as a consequence of the Need group lying about the Snapchat incident. The Need group members, and especially Ty Hart and Moore, have therefore, in my opinion, violated Oregon Statute 166.023, disorderly conduct in the first degree. A person commits the crime of disorderly conduct in the first degree if, with intent to cause public inconvenience, annoyance, or alarm, the person initiates or circulates a report knowing it to be false. It is a Class A misdemeanor. Many of the members of NEAT are completely aware the Snapchat messages are not made by a white student and instead by a BIPOC student, using their own terms, and therefore, in my opinion, they are guilty of this crime, for they have intentionally utilized the false narrative of the incident as proof of widespread racism and white supremacy in Newberg, Oregon. They have caused inconvenience, annoyance, and alarm among the residents of the town for the benefit of the Need members, especially Ty Hart and Moore, whose career as a social activist and diversity consultant, she profits from the hysteria. To finish the section out, to the student in question who made the Snapchat post, I believe the school administrators have placed you into the precarious situation where the only way you can clear your name to stop the current bullying by other students, who also know it was you, is by suing the school and specifically the members of NEAD, such as Ty Hart and Moore, for their defamation. This also means you have to publicly admit you are the one who sent the messages in the Snapchat group. Unfortunately, due to the illegal conspiracy of the NEAD group and involvement of the school administrators, this incident will follow you in your personal life all throughout school, likely even into adulthood, because so many in our town know the truth. The only way for you to obtain justice to clear your name is by suing the ones who turned this into a media circus. I do believe the student should sue the school administration and members of NEAD, which is a sad thing to have to say here, but the student deserves justice for their privacy violations, how this has ruined their student life or what appears to be an extremely isolated incident of no public interest, and where the school administrators have failed the student by publicly shaming the student and making our town the center of negative national attention, using the student's isolated incident of frustration and immaturity. I gotta take a drink of water here. The school was supposed to give the student proper guidance in how to correct their behavior, not publicly shame them and feed them to the hyenas. This should have been kept a private matter between impacted parties. Based on this incident alone, I believe the entire school administration who participated in the release of private student information, who knowingly has allowed the Newberg Need Mafia to fundraise and recruit support for the Recall Brian Shannon PAC using the Snapchat incident, should be terminated immediately from employment by the school district, have their teaching licenses suspended by the state of Oregon. They have violated multiple school policies, violated the students' right to privacy, and most importantly, they have violated federal and state laws related to the obscuring the facts for political gain. The school board should use its powers to terminate them all from employment, since Joe Morlock obviously isn't going to do this. Also, the school board members who are participants in the Newberg Mafia should be recalled from their seats. If they were smart, I think they would resign immediately. This also goes for the Newberg City Council members Bryce Cofield and Elise Yarnall Holloman, who have participated in the NEAD group as well, and all the other school employees who I have previously mentioned who are members of this Mafia cult. how Need felt about the Gail Groby removing the American flag from Newberg school classrooms article. The Newberg Graphic did report on Gail Groby, a teacher at the school district, and according to the news articles, one of the organizers of the teacher union, who said she wanted to remove American flags from the Newberg school district classrooms, which is illegal under Oregon law. I couldn't find Gail Groby's Facebook account as a member of Need, possibly because after the news story made national news, she deactivated her Facebook profile. However, I do believe she is one of the people currently in the group posting under a fictitious username. Someone who may be a relative, Alan Groby, is in the Need group. In any case, this is how members of Need felt about Gail Groby wanting to remove American flags from the classrooms. So, Alexa Kaplan, September 15th, she says, I know it's coming from Fox News, but I couldn't find it from anywhere else. My favorite quote from the article is that symbol doesn't stand for freedom or justice or equality anymore. It stands for violence and menace and intolerance. I will not fly that in my room. And it was liked by a lot of people, including, you see there, Lupita right there. Lupita, vice chair for Oregon Board of Education, right there. And so many other people here who agree with this, who are teachers. Heather Ann, she's not wrong. I pretty much cringe when I see the American flag become a symbol of hate. Angie Spratcher, me too. It kind of triggers me now. It's time to create a new one. Melanie Walker Mildenberg, she's not wrong. Suzanne Huntington, can't disagree with her. See, the Elaine Koskela as well. So much. Here's Lupita even commenting. See? She says, I appreciate Mrs. Groby's courage to make a most valid statement. I echo your and my son's support for her. Yes, lovely. If you've read this far, you'll recognize the names of teachers like Elaine Hayworth Koskela, who's a teacher at Newberg Catalyst High School, success coordinator, and married to Greg Hayworth Koskela, who's the communications coordinator and bond manager at Newberg School District. And Becky Raz, teacher assistant. Angie Spratcher is a Newberg School special education teacher at Chehalem Valley Middle School. You know, of course, Lupita is Guadalupe Martinez Zapata, vice chair of the Oregon Board of Education. Also, Melanie Mildenberger is on the Citizen Rate Committee for the city of Newberg and is triggered by the American flag too. Lovely. Lovely, isn't it? Okay, so no mistakes here. These people hate America. Only one of them that flies the American flag believes BLM and pride flags deserve equal placement and priority to it. If you had read all that, you would understand it. These are cultists in our classrooms. They're teaching our kids to hate America too. Couldn't find many posts by Alan Groby, but I did find this. Okay, he posted, when I was in grade school growing up in Newberg, an African-American family moved to town. My parents gathered my family together and told us they were coming over for dinner. They then told us they are our new friends and we will be visually supportive friends with their kids at school. I was fine with that, but frankly didn't understand why my parents seemed to be going out of their way. They were an amazing family with great kids, blah, blah, blah. Here's the important thing, okay? Alan Groby seems to be about my age. He knows better than this, or at least he should. While it's true, there's not as many African-American people in Newberg compared to Caucasians and Hispanics or even Asians. There has been African-Americans in Newberg for a long time. My mom had classmates in Newberg who were African-American. Over a summer break during middle school, I briefly dated an African-American girl in town who went to Open Bible, which is now called C.S. Lewis. I recall her being very popular. I didn't think much about her ethnicity at all. I just thought she was cute and funny. We didn't keep dating because I spent the next half of the summer at my mom's in our town. My parents were divorced by this point. As I recall, she being popular, started seeing someone else. I was disappointed, but you know, those other girls. It's what it is. The important thing is this. Several of my parents' friends in the area had mixed ethnicity marriages and families. Weekend barbecues with them were a common event. Nobody ever thought anything of it. I never had my parents make such an absurd declaration as we were having to be friends because of their ethnicity, as saying this was never necessary, because racism was completely absent from the culture of this area. I disagree that the culture of Newberg is as Alan Groby describes, or at least it wasn't when I grew up here. And if it has changed, It's not because of anything longtime residents have changed. This town was founded by Quakers. A common humanity approach to diversity has been the model since it was founded in 1889. If racism exists in Newberg, it's because of other people recently moving here, bringing their stupid ideas with them, making people pay enormous attention to ethnicity in a town that culturally never did pay much attention to it. We certainly didn't tell kids to segregate in our schools, or that they owe or are owed a blood debt based on skin color, which is what they're doing now. Use of need to spam the school board, coordinated by school board counselors Brandy Penner and Rebecca Pyros. School board members Brandy Kaufman-Penner and Rebecca Pyros both are members of NEED and routinely ask members of NEED to submit letters to the board with opinions that they want, so they can deceive the public into thinking these are opinions randomly volunteered instead of part of a coordinated political campaign orchestrated by NEED. Here's some examples here. Brandy Kaufman, August 8th, I have an ask for the NEED community. Preparing for the August 10th board meeting, yada yada. I think I previously submitted this. She wants you to share questions so that she can use them during the board meeting, which is, I'm pretty sure, a violation of public meeting laws. Here's Beth McDonough, September 22nd. Okay, posted in Newberg Equity and Education. If you were like me not selected to make a comment tonight, please be sure to submit a comment in writing. Okay, here's the emails that I've been receiving. Submit a bunch of emails. Action needed. Please sign, speak up at the board listing section, and submit your comments in writing to the whole board. And of course, I tell them what to write as well. Here's Taking Action, August 11th. Student support, organized lead efforts to encourage the students, okay, to protest. Board issues, research our community, messaging, marketing, and so forth. Okay, they have organized efforts here. Brandy Kaufman, August 11th. Most powerful weapon on earth is the human soul on fire. Here, basically, she's saying to continue to resist the board members. I also find this part to be kind of hilarious. Elizabeth Rogers Curtis Gemeroy says on August 24th, we need to get evidence for how these four are communicating outside of meetings. Which is what they're doing, right? And you can read the whole thing in the article. The NEED group members literally break many laws in their own internal communications, yet here they are trying to go after others for the crime they are already committing. The funny thing is, this just shows they know their actions are illegal. From the Oregon School Board Association website for public meetings, okay? No quorum of governing body may meet in private to decide, deliberate, gather information on which to deliberate. As I have demonstrated in their past communications in the NEED group, until this most recent school board election, there was a quorum, I think, in the NEED group. They used the group to gather information to deliberate on exclusively from members in NEED. They continue to do this as well. I'm going to have to make a yet another video, guys. It's just been talking too long. We're going to pick up here with talking about them using the Chehalem Cultural Center to distribute critical race theory propaganda. Okay? It'll be in the next video. Thanks for watching this far. See you in the next one.